If you're even thinking about starting a small business in 2025, then this video is going to save you weeks, if not months, of complete wasted time. Because the truth is, most people make the same three mistakes when they start. And I made all of these mistakes myself when I got started. But after building multiple businesses from scratch and a couple hitting multiple seven figures, I figured out what actually works and what to ignore. So in this video, I'm going to give you straight up, no fluff advice on what to avoid that destroyed my first 5 businesses. So if you're tired of that generic advice of what not to do and want actual steps, then hit the subscribe button and watch this video until the end. So the first thing that you have to understand is that the market doesn't care about your feelings. That's why you have to go through product testing. You think that you have some great product or some revolutionary idea, but in reality, the market doesn't care. So let me tell you a story. One winter, I thought I had this great multi-million-dollar idea, portable fireplaces. Great product, beautiful design, it was convenient, it was easy, and I thought, man, people are getting cold, they're gonna want a portable fireplace. But it turned out no one wanted to lug around a fireplace when they could just stay indoors. And I ended up spending $6,000 on product and inventory before I sold a single one, thinking that it was gonna be some revolutionary idea, but the market didn't care. So I made maybe 2 sales that entire winter, and I was devastated. And I was like, man, this is such a great idea. This is something that is going to be awesome. Why is nobody buying? Well, because at the end of the day, it didn't matter what I thought. It mattered what the market thought. So it's so important that you go through product testing. Don't spend money on things that you haven't tested. So the lesson that you need to learn is that you don't build first and hope it sells. I've done that multiple times thinking that it was some revolutionary idea, but you don't build first and hope it sells. You test first and then build it after. So a great strategy for this is make some content or run some ads and do some things to get market feedback before you start dropping a ton of money and a ton of things into this business that you think is revolutionary, right? And number 2 biggest thing that people make a mistake on is that they scale too fast. Scaling too fast is an absolute death sentence. And most people online will never tell you that. They say, oh, just drop money in ads and start scaling, make all this money. Well, in reality, it doesn't work that way. Because if you scale too fast and you don't have a clear-cut system, a delivery of the product, you don't have your customer support nailed down, you're going to get so much negative feedback in that first 90, 180 days that your business is going to be destroyed. Because feedback and stories that people tell other people is the lifeblood of your business. So if you scale too fast and you have all this money coming in, but you don't have a clear-cut delivery method, you're going to fail. It's not going to be a long term. And let me tell you a story about that. So I ran a company that did $1 million in 90 days. And this was like our first 90 days. We did $1 million in revenue. And most people online will start flexing the screenshots and doing all these things. But in reality, none of it actually was sustainable. That company only lasted about 8 months because in that first $1 million in revenue, our first couple hundred clients, we didn't have a clear-cut delivery method. We didn't even really know what we were doing. So we got all this money, all this sales, we scaled up so fast, but it wasn't sustainable. We had to backtrack, deal with so much negative customer support. People were filing chargebacks. They were sending back our product because we didn't have it nailed down. So in reality, if we would have focused on growing slower, we probably would have been more sustainable in the business. Because if we sold one product, got a little bit of money, got the delivery, got the feedback from it, then we could fix it for the second sale and fix it and fix it and fix it and compound that to where once we got 100 customers, it was such a clear delivery method that we could scale up to 2,000, 3,000 customers and not be a problem. Right? And then it creates positive feedback. And just like negative feedback, positive feedback is super beneficial for your business. That's what spreads word of mouth. So the lesson that you need to learn is that grow slow enough to collect enough feedback to fix the problems before you scale. Collect enough feedback, fix your product, be an advocate of fixing your product before you scale up. It is a huge life lesson that if you take into account is going to save you so much time and help you build a long-term business. Now, the third thing that most people get wrong, and I've done this many times as well, is you don't have any systems. If you don't have systems in your business, then you're stuck in a hustle trap. You basically have a glorified job. Because if you don't have systems in place, you can never step out of the business. You always have to manually do it. So every customer you have to send all the emails to, the delivery. You don't have a clear-cut system to acquire customers. You don't have a clear-cut system to deliver products, to convert that audience into customers, so you're doing it manually. So most people think systems are for big companies or when you hire your first 10 people. But that's why most people never become big companies. Because if you don't have systems in place from day one, you'll stay stuck working in the business. And then once you start hiring people, you have nothing to teach them. You can't duplicate yourself. You can't duplicate your brain, but you can duplicate systems and you can duplicate SOPs. So you have to have them from day one in order to start growing, because then you can actually teach people and delegate tasks. You'll lose sales. You'll burn out your team. You'll kill the word of mouth because every delivery is different because you have to manually send them. And I don't care how good you are or how much of a genius you are, if you have to manually send all the delivery every single time and you get to 100 customers, zero chance in this world that all 100 are going to be perfect. We're all human, right? We make mistakes. I thought I was that way too. I thought I cracked some secret code of delivery when I was manually sending it, making everyone happy. But in reality, there was no clear-cut experience. So then you deteriorate your word of mouth because now nobody can share the same story. This person's going to tell this story. This person's going to tell this story. But if you had clear-cut systems, they're going to tell the exact same story. So a metaphor I always like doing is think about the Roman aqueduct, right? And if you don't know anything about history, I'm not here to give you a history lesson, but I personally love history, and I think you can learn a lot from it. But if you look at the Roman aqueducts, without the structure, the water just spills out. The Romans spent so much time building the structure before a drop of water was ever put through the aqueduct. But once they had the structure, aka the systems, then they could start flowing in all of the water, aka the revenue, right? But if they didn't focus the majority of their time building the aqueduct, then the water would spill out, it would leak, it would go everywhere, and there wouldn't be a system to do it. And if you think about the Roman industry and you think about the aqueducts that they revolutionized, they were able to transport water across their entire empire because they focused on the system first. So the lesson that you need to learn is always be systems oriented. Figure out all the processes that you're doing manually and then put systems in place so that you don't have to do it manually. This is so important. I cannot reiterate this enough. You have to put systems first. So if you're serious about building a business that doesn't just survive, but it thrives, then you're going to love the next videos on our channel where we go through everything you need to do to actually build those systems, to put in SOPs so you can duplicate it. And this channel is full of just no fluff advice that's worked for me, right? And I love to hear other operators' opinions, so leave it in the comments below of things that you found that works. Share a quick story of a failed business that you have, right? And as always, I'm not here to sell you some course, some $25,000 mastermind. I'm just here to share what's worked for me and what's grown my businesses and what's also destroyed my businesses, right? So rewatch this video a couple times. Really understand those lessons before you start building a business, because if you understand those, your business is going to thrive and it's going to be set up for the long term, which is what we all want. We don't want money for a week. We want money for a lifetime. So go ahead and rewatch this, hit the subscribe button, like, comment a quick short story of a failed business that you had, and we'll see you in the next videos.